Hey guys, happy Wedding Wednesday. I am so excited here to share with you some really fun tips and some information about how to write and how to give a killer maid of honor speech. So here's the deal. I have seen seriously hundreds of weddings, either shot them myself, attended weddings, I've given maid of honor speeches before in the past, and I just have a lot to share about it, and I want to be able to share some of my experiences, some do's and don'ts, and really just help you make your life easier when it comes to writing this one speech that you may be biting your nails trying to figure out how to get started and where to begin. Disclaimer, I just want to share that although these are my experiences, I'm not an expert, right? So if I say something that maybe doesn't quite make sense or maybe you don't agree with, do you, boo? But I just wanted to share what I have to say. So let's go ahead and get started. I thought it would be fun to share the history of toast and basically why we do them. So it actually starts all the way back from about 6th century BC. I totally looked this up. And if you don't know this about me, I'm a huge history buff. I don't really love wars and all that history and stuff like that, but I love figuring out the meaning behind sayings and traditions and different culture stuff. That's just really cool. So back in 6th century BC, the Greeks would gather and they would be hosting their events, whether it be a wedding or a huge event, and the host, which would typically be the father of the bride, he would bring in this big pitcher, which was actually just the big wine or the big drink of the evening, and he would literally, after saying a prayer or after welcoming all the guests, he would take this big pitcher, kind of like communion, kind of like at church, and he would just drink it, and that's kind of where the history comes. But basically that just symbolized that you were among friends and that there wasn't poison in the drink. So that's where that started from. Another history on toast and cheering or cheersing, where everyone brings your stuff together, also starts with family and friends when they would gather and for a celebration. And it just meant that, imagine Oktoberfest status with these big burly mugs of beer, and they would all clink together and everything would be splashing like a cartoon. That just also symbolized that you were among friends and that there wasn't any poison or anything gross in your drinks, that you're welcome, which I think is kind of silly. Also, another history lesson before we get into actually writing the speech, I wanted to just chat about how that the history of giving the speeches right before dinner is also really symbolic. So, because back in the day, they didn't have caterers. They didn't have that. So it would just mean that you would kind of need to buy time for the family and the hired help to create those meals, make sure they're coming out hot. And when you think about it, it is kind of interesting. Why doesn't the maid of honor or the best man give a speech right before you're getting ready or even during the ceremony? Right? So there's a specific time that the speech is given, and that just happens to be right before dinner to buy time for the family to serve all of their guests. So that's a little bit of the history. I'm just super into wedding traditions and why we do what we do, and just to kind of give an example of just traditions. So you can take what you want and run with it, or we can start fresh. So let's just dive right into actually writing your speech. Okay, so first and foremost, it starts with prep. It's never too early to start writing out your speech. So if you get asked to be a bridesmaid, or you have the honor of being the matron of honor or the maid of honor, and you think you have time, no, sister, you should have started writing your speech a month ago. So I'm here to help, and the first thing I would do is just start compiling a list, okay? So just start compiling all of your ideas, all of your favorite memories of your sister or your best friend, and maybe even search on Pinterest and just get some really fun ideas about love quotes, maybe some prayers, or some I don't know, just quotes and things that you love and that you kind of gravitate to. Write them down. Create a notes pad on your phone, or just pull up a document on your computer and just compile all of these things. All right, that's just step number one. Step number two is to come up with about 1 to 2 stories that share your experiences and just share your life with your best friend or your sister, whoever the bride is. And this is really important because I want you guys to think of memories that circle back to basically how amazing the bride is, okay? Because really, this is her day. I mean, this isn't a time to like bring out all of the dirty laundry and share all these crazy memories. We get it. Like, everyone has a life and a story to tell, but this is their wedding day, and you're gonna make a huge impact with everyone if you can just share something nice. My favorite like hint for this is to think of a Danny Tanner moment. So if you're a Full House fan, if you're a 90s baby, just think of a Danny Tanner moment where you can take any type of situation and then make it great. Okay, so like turn it into like a lesson and something that will come back to the bride and groom or for the couple. Okay, so here's my like number one example. And if this starts just to ramble on, I'm sorry, but you can just fast forward. But basically, let's say, for example, you met your best friend in college and you guys just had a really amazing time. You got good grades, but on the weekends, you partied. Your best friend had the best Halloween costumes. She dated the hottest guys back then, and you guys just like lived it up, okay? So instead of sharing some crazy moments about how your best friend was your DD and you could always count on her, just flip the script and just talk about how your college years were some of the best memories of your life, and you knew you can always count on your best friend to be there to support you, and she was responsible and loving and always put people first. See what I'm saying? See how I flip that? And then this is the best part. After you talk about all the amazing ways that your friend is so great, then you can kind of shift that and transition that into talking about the couple. Okay, so you're gonna want to take that time to actually switch and stop talking about you and your best friend and start talking about the groom or the couple that you're honoring at that time. Okay, so that's just the perfect transition, and which is great because then you can start talking about them, about a quick little story about how you met her fiance, and then just kind of go from there. Okay, that's like your little segue into talking about them and talking about their future. Okay, so that kind of sums up just about like how to prep and then what to do with what you have. And then I kind of want to close out this live with just some quick little to-dos, like, or do's and don'ts, sorry. So you should do these things, but they're just like what you should do and what you should not do. So first things first, do introduce yourself, okay? So make sure that you're saying hello, even though you are the bride's little sister or you have been a best friend since the 3rd grade. I guarantee you that even with that history, there's going to be at least 12 people in the audience or in the wedding guest list that has never seen your face before. So just say hi, introduce yourself, keep it sweet. Don't make it about a best friends contest, okay? So here's the deal. You have the mic for a reason, okay? We know that, okay? So you don't need to talk about how much you love her, how long you guys go back in time, and because, I mean, we've all seen that, right? Where there's been like 2 or 3 bridesmaids that have the mic and then each one is the bride's best friend. We get it. Like, it's not a competition. I mean, you won because you have the mic, okay? So just embrace it, all right? And then also don't lead with how nervous you are. Like, we totally get it. You're nervous. It's just what happens. So you don't need to start. Just kind of start with hello, what your name is, and then get right into some of your favorite memories and just how happy you are for the couple. Let's see here. Oh, this is a huge one. Make sure that when you're giving your speech that you are actually standing close to the couple. So this is important for photography and videography as well, because you're going to want a shot with you standing right behind the couple, which is going to be huge because then you can catch emotions and laughter and maybe even some tears. That's going to be really special. And you're going to want to be close to them. Also, most importantly, don't drink any hard alcohol before you give this speech, okay? So make sure that you are drinking plenty of water, that you're sipping bubbly, and that you just have, you're not really drinking hard until after you give this speech. You can thank me later. Also, like I mentioned before, I have random notes. Just keep it PG. Try to stay away from the inside jokes because they might be hilarious to you and maybe a couple of the other bridesmaids or a couple siblings in the crowd. No one's gonna get it, and they're not funny. I'm sorry, they're just not. So just stick to things that most people are going to, in general think are going to be funny. And this is most important. Make sure, and I have my glass here, make sure that you actually have a glass in front of you to toast. Because there's nothing worse than going to make a speech and then be like, here, and just grabbing someone's glass off the table. So make sure you have that. And then before I close out, I also wanted to share, it's a really good idea to make sure that you put your thoughts and like your outline on a piece of paper. Try your hardest not to use your phone while you're actually giving the speech. All right, guys, so I think that kind of sums up just some fun facts and some information about giving the best maid of honor speech as possible. If you have any questions at all, please reach out. You can leave a comment down below, and I have an amazing blog post that kind of just highlights all of these fun things for you too. So cheers! I hope you guys have a great day, and thank you for watching. Okay, bye.